This is going to be a very difficult episode of Backtracking, not for any bad reasons, but if anything, it's more for the good reasons. Usually at the end of each episode, I round up the albums and I tell people which was my most favourite and which was my least favourite. And whilst I won't give away any of that information right now, I will say this. No matter which album is my least favourite, I still love it. It's just difficult for me to say anything negative about While She Sleeps. Maybe it's a sense of nationalistic pride, maybe it's, because they're one of the best British bands going today, in my opinion. Maybe it's because I'm extremely biased towards the band because I love them so much. Or maybe, just maybe, it's the fan base. It's time to do some backtracking, and this time it's While She Sleeps. Rule Britannia and all that luck. And before I forget, they formed in 2006 and started off in Sheffield. I didn't include that in my scripted intro, but I wanted to add that after writing the awesome stuff, so yeah, moving on. We start with the band's 2012 debut, This Is the Six. I know that it's a bad running joke like all jokes in backtracking are, but still another debut album that isn't self-titled. Brilliant. Anyway, it was released through Search and Destroy Records and Sony Music, and produced by a dude named Carl Brown. It was also my first While She Sleeps album, and contains my first song by the band in the title track, which I still maintain would be a great theme song if I ever chose to become a pro wrestler. Anyway, yes, because this was my first album by the band as their debut, this is one of those rare episodes of backtracking where I'm not completely blind. If anything, I listen to this band too much, and it's becoming a problem, but definitely the good kind. I first heard the song This Is the Six back in 2012 when it was released for the album. I was just having a lazy day and left Kerrang TV on, and the song popped up. Now at that time, I was starting to get into more heavy music, with bands like Parkway Drive helping me along that path a bit more, listening to more metalcore and hardcore stuff. Due to that, this song was right up my alley, but unlike other stuff that I was listening to at that time, everything about this song felt different. It wasn't a typical metalcore song by a typical metalcore band, From start to finish, it surprised me, and it became a fantastic gateway into the band's sound, which is pretty much always changing. But the band never forgets their metal/hardcore roots, and more importantly, they don't forget their themes, with the main one being unity. See, This Is the Six isn't just a unique metal album by a unique metal band, it's a call to arms. In fact, the name is a tribute to the band's fanbase who are called the Six, which is a reference to there being 5 band members, and the 6 represents the fans all as one. Even the band's logo reflects that, with said logo being a tally gate with an extra mark afterwards. And they'll make a cool tattoo, which I'm pretty sure all the band members have, and all the fans do too, and I should get as well. Anyway, I should get back to the album. The structuring is pretty much perfect. Right off the bat, we get shown that the band has a great ability to tell stories, and it fits the album's 44-minute and 32-second time frame. It's weird to think that an album as long as that is actually the band's shortest, but there you go. Actually, the album could have been shorter, but the band went to a studio in Wales to add some lovely piano parts, which actually complement the album's sound. Speaking of which, as I mentioned earlier, it's not your typical metalcore things. That's a difficult phrase to say, typical metalcore. And the tracks are so well placed that you never really get the same song twice, and you get an amazing balance of intensity and tranquility. The band members are a key part of that, with Lawrence Taylor's vocals sounding brilliant and delivering his messages about politics, unity, and legacy really well. Sean Long and Matt Walsh's guitar work, both are really awesome, with crunchy riffs and great solos from Long as well. Aaron McKenzie's bass stands out, not just being there to jog along, but to drive things home hard with his work. And Adam Savage's drumming is also great, with great fills, mean double bass work, and really good balance and control. Standout songs include Believe, but the lie in Believe is in brackets, so there you go. Seven Hills, Dead Behind the Eyes, featuring Andrew Neufeld of Comeback Kid. False Freedom, my favourite in the title track. This Is the Six it's awesome. It's just so awesome. It's a great kickoff point for the band. It's accessible. There's something in it for everyone, and I can easily recommend it. It was one of my favorite albums. It was one of my favorite albums of 2012. It's no wonder that these guys got the Kerrang Award for Best British Newcomer in that year, because they sure do deserve it. Listen to this album. Listen to all that stuff. It's all really, really good. We then move on to their second album, Brainwashed. Released in 2015, the band stick with Carl Brown as producer, as well as their 2 labels from their debut album, while also releasing Brainwashed through the highly touted Razor and Tie label, which is a label I quite like. This album does mark the longest gap between releases for the band so far, as they were originally meant to release this in 2014, but due to Lawrence Taylor needing throat surgery, the album had to be delayed. The album is also technically the band's longest, with emphasis on the word technically. See, the band released a deluxe edition along with the normal version of the album, and when I first listened to the album on YouTube back in 2015, I stumbled upon the deluxe edition and didn't actually know until about a week later. The original clocks in at 45 minutes and 43 seconds, but the deluxe edition clocks in at 54 minutes and 9 seconds. And also, strangely, when the band released the song Our Legacy as a single from the album, it includes the song We Are Alive at Night, which is one of the two instrumental tracks on the deluxe edition, as well as being the song that precedes Our Legacy in the deluxe edition anyway. So, it's kind of strange. The other instrumental track is titled The Woods, and the deluxe edition does include an actual song as well in Your Revolution, which is honestly a pretty good song. Brainwashed. Sorry, missed a line there. I'm more shocked that it didn't make the regular version of the album, to be honest. Brainwashed is also the only album Ball Watch to Sleep, so not have any guest vocalists, so that's another little factoid for your brains to drink up. Anyway, for those who saw my posting of my favourite 2015 albums on Facebook, you know that Brainwashed was my album of that year. Why? Because it bloody well deserves it. The band take the intensity, the vocals, and their fantastic structuring and storytelling and turn it all up to 11 on this one. Speaking of the vocals, the throat surgery was a blessing in disguise. It's much easier to understand Lawrence Taylor now, and his somewhat clearer style leads to a much cleaner sounding album. But that doesn't mean that the band has dialed anything back, as they even have themes of religion along with themes of revolution, protest, and brotherhood, and there are other stuff as well. Another new thing is more chanting vocals. The band did double with them on this as the sixth, but that was more of just Matt Welsh being a co-lead vocalist. For Brainwashed, everyone joins in, adding more drive to the choruses and a nice gang vocal feeling to everything. Matt also shows off great riffs, joined with savage scales of Sean Long as well as fantastic solos. Mackenzie's bass work continues to impress, adding fast pace to things, and Sab's drumming picks up on speed and just raw power too, and adds a good backbone to everything. Standard songs include the title track, the closer in Modern Minds, Our Legacy, Four Walls, and my favourite and Trophies of Violence. Brainwashed, much like This Is the Six, is just awesome. It is a great sequel to an already great album, but I'd say that Brainwash is the easiest work by the band to get into, personally. It's probably their most accessible piece, so yeah, once again, I can recommend it wholeheartedly. It was my favourite album of 2015. I'm stumbling over my words so much for this episode, I'm sorry, I love this band so much. But yeah, I can recommend Brainwashed, listen to it. And lastly, we reach the band's third album, You Are We. Released in 2017, this one saw a couple of changes as the band left their label and turned to Pledge Music to get the funding for this album. Luckily, due to how damn good the Sleeps fanbase is, that worked. The album was released through Sharp Tone Records as well as UNFD, and it was produced by the band themselves. Also, in terms of album length on the base album, this is the longest on its own at just 2 seconds shy of a full 51 minutes, but as I mentioned, we're talking about the deluxe edition of Brainwashed. I still see that one as their longest album, mostly because I heard the deluxe edition of Brainwashed first. But when I had to talk about Brainwashed, so let's start talking about Brainwashed. I said Brainwashed. So, You Are We is different territory for the band. They experiment a bit more with their sound, which once again leads to amazing structuring of songs and great moments in general. To be honest, I don't know what I can say about You Are We that I didn't already say in my top 10 albums of 2017 video, but damn it, I'm gonna try. So, a fair amount of the songs on the album were influenced by the Brexit debacle in 2016, but what I admire is the band's incredible amount of subtlety and restraint when talking about it. Instead of just making an album full of anti-Brexit songs, they made an album full of songs about how we should stand together now more than ever. I know I've said this several times when it comes to politics and music, but it's so damn easy to go for the low-hanging fruit and get everybody to agree with you. But when you're making something that makes people realise that they should agree with each other regardless and not all of one side is the same, that's a feat that so few artists can pull off without sounding pretentious. While She Sleeps are one of those few. It's just the feeling of each song that they get right. Everything feels so balanced and it still has that journey song style structure, but you never know what to expect. It has plenty of twists and turns, but not so many that get confused or lost. It keeps things interesting. When was the last time that you heard a political album that sounded interesting? That is largely due to the band members handling things themselves behind the booth, as well as just sounding great all around. Taylor's vocals are more on point with adding range to his screams and improvement on his clean singing as well. Matt Welsh gets more time to shine as a vocalist, which is nice, as well as adding some chunky riffs. Sean Long's own riff work is just brilliant, as well as more solos, which is good, and they all sound great. Aaron's bass work gets more time to shine as well, playing better scales and sounding a bit bouncier to add more of a groove to things. And Adam's drumming is also good with great timing, awesome snare work, and fantastic style changes throughout. Standout songs include the title track, Feel, Revolt, Settle Down Society, and my favourite in Silence Speaks, which features Ollie Sykes from Bring Me the Horizon. I know it's hard for BMTH to be attached to anything good, but I always make an exception for this song. You Are We is While She Sleeps at their best. Experimental, innovative, well-produced, and surprisingly eye-opening and extremely restrained. This was my favourite album of 2017 for all those reasons and more. I can entirely recommend this one. It may very well be one of my favourite albums of all time. Just is. So it's time for the part I'm actually dreading for once. It's time to round them up, and I'll start with the least favourite, which is maybe This Is the Six, but I'm only saying that because it's kind of obligatory by this point to pick an album I would. I was going to say pick an album I don't like, but I really love this album. I really, really love This Is the Six, but I just feel like the band has continued to strive forward and make improvements since then. Still, I don't have anything bad at all to say about their debut, because there's nothing really bad about it. Listen to it, it's definitely worth your time. Most favourite is possibly UOV for the same reasons as I explained about This Is the Six. The band continues to get better, and I honestly think that's possible for them to make better music. It's also possible for Hell to freeze over, but hey, what do I know? That'll about wrap it up for this episode, where I still recommend you to listen to everything that While She Sleeps does, because they're fantastic, and they're probably always going to be that way. I sure as hell hope I didn't just jinx them. Anyway, join me in the next episode, where I'll cover Canadian punk rock band Billy Talent. That'll be out some point within the first week of March, I'm hoping. And as always, thank you for listening. You're awesome. Bye bye.